coming up this week on the Course of Life podcast, it was a wind-whipping week in Bermuda of epic proportions, and we had a spicy debut winner as well. Plus, I had the best round of my season, so it's time to brag real quick. And everything we're tuned into outside of sports includes some mixed messages from a pop star regarding what time of year it is exactly, and some Halloween classics as well. And this week's guest is a very interesting one. We have world-renowned artist, golf landscape artist specifically, Linda Hartough. She's painted at Augusta National, at US Opens, British Opens, and she tells the story of her work and career. Plus a couple football takes, and we always end with food. All of it brought to you by our friends at City Bonfires. The weather is cooling down. It is perfect bonfire season, so why not enjoy it with a portable, reusable bonfire from City Bonfires. They are easy to light with a stick lighter and easy to put out. And like I said, so portable. They're the size of your fist and they can fit in your beach bag, backpack, or pretty much anywhere to enjoy and add a little bit of atmosphere to the nighttime as well too. So check out citybonfires.com and our promo code, which is COLFIRE. That's COLFIRE. Save 10% off any order on the website, citybonfires.com.
Hello, interwebs, and welcome to Course of Life, part of the Morning Breed Podcast Network. We are proud to be presented by our friends at Desert Fox Golf and Tosi Snacks. I'm Michael, he's Alex. And Alex, it was, guys kind of looked like average golfers this week out in Bermuda.
They did. Yes.
Balls scores in the 80s almost every day. And then we got to Sunday and Patrick Reed went, "Hey guys, remember me?" And he shot like 10 under par and still didn't win. So too bad for you.
Yeah, pretty much. In my picks, it came up just a shot short. I don't really have a lot of logic for why I picked Patrick Reed, except for I thought he's a decent win player, and that proved to be right. Mm-hmm. He had like a couple unreal holeouts during the week too, but you're right, it wasn't enough. He came up just short. But yes, it was kind of like a fire festival type of week early on. Guys were freaking out about how windy it was and how they were hitting drives 200 yards just like all of us, and how their sand wedges were like going backwards off the front of the green. So there was a lot of complaining and a lot of high scores, but in the end, still birdies to be had. They were still going low despite the conditions. And Lucas Herbert ended up getting his debut win, a guy that had been trying to break through for a little while, and this was a big one for him.
Yeah, Herbs and Spices on Instagram. It's just great. I love it.
Might be one. I'm going to say, I think that's the best golf nickname on social media. You know, these guys are always usually just throwing their exact name on there on IG. Yeah, I like that. Herbs and Spices. It's catchy. Shout out to Lucas Herbert for the win. This is a guy that's been floating around the Euro Tour and won there in the last year or two. Did well to get through Corn Ferry qualifying to get where he is on the PGA Tour now. So he's officially made the switch. This guy has come from Europe and Australia, and he's made the switch over to the U.S. Tours. And this is a great way to start off the career. So he'll be around for at least the next few years now.
It is indeed, and maybe we'll see his name in the winner's circle once again. Let's talk about a guy who found the winner's circle a lot, though, who was back in the news this week, and that was Greg Norman, who's been named as being the guy in charge for this new Saudi golf venture.
It's all very vague, but so intriguing at the same time. I think we're kind of what this feels like a replay of the 2019 Premier Golf League talk that we had so much of, and that's come to absolutely nothing. That Twitter account, I think it still exists, Mike, but like they just send out weird cryptic tweets like once every like 60 days. That's really not doing enough for engagement for me in the social media department. No. But I'm interested in this new Saudi-backed venture from Greg Norman, and you know, because the history of the game, Greg Norman's an international player that played all over the globe, and he has been a huge advocate of moving the PGA Tour and making it more worldwide. And he's had a lot of issue doing that over the course of his career. So now I think he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to go out on my own and see if I can do this on my own, basically.
I mean, at this point, he's got nothing else going for him. I mean, of course, back in the 90s, he had that failed tour that he tried to get going. And that's part of the reason why we have the World Golf Classic events going on now, too, which are great events. I mean, those are fantastic events. So we can tip our hat to Greg Norman for that. This, I don't know. I don't know. There's so much vagueness going on with this, but we're going to be really excited. You know, if it's going to be that good and you actually have good names for this, why aren't you telling us at this point? I mean, what is the reason?
He will not. There were no names named. I need you to name names, like classic Seinfeld episode. You know, you need to name names at this point. Give me some juice. Tell me that Dustin Johnson signed on the dotted line for $50 million. That's the kind of juice I want if I'm going to tune into this tour. Give me something to get excited for. But yeah, the early facade is, it's 10 events and they're co-sanctioned with the Asian Tour and we want to bring more golf to Asia, which is great. We've seen how valuable that's then been for the growth of the game. So we'll follow this storyline. I'm curious to see what headlines come. Again, Greg Norman, if you or your team's listening out there, I need more juice. You got to name names. You got to give me locations. Give me some hard facts. Get me excited about a potential new tour in the game of golf.
And let me speak directly to Greg Norman right now because I'm sure he's listening.
Yes, he's listening.
You want to come on our podcast? We're the place to break the news about who's going to be playing on this new tour. Is right here on this podcast, Course of Life. This is it.
That's the ultimate promo right there. Love that. So we'll be stay tuned to that Greg Norman storyline in the future.
Let's talk about this week's first tee word of the week, which for you, right, Alex, is perseverance.
It is, because this is a part of my golf game that I've had to persevere with for seemingly it's years, but it feels like decades at this point. And you know this too. You know, you've seen me when I hit good drives. You've seen me make a ton of putts and chips. Everything in between, though, has always been a big question mark for me. That's why I had a huge breakthrough on the golf course this past weekend. I had probably my lowest round of the year, so I'll get the bragging out now. It was a 3 over par 75, Mike. Even par on the back. But the key was I hit 12 greens in regulation. It's nice to just stand in the fairway and have the confidence to think, I'm going to put this ball on the green. And I did it over and over again. So that was my big breakthrough. And my perseverance definitely showed after years of very rusty iron play. I think it's finally coming around.
So the question is, what's your next round going to be like?
Yeah, probably about 10 higher, I would say.
Yeah, at least. It'd be hilarious if your next round is like 110.
Yeah, it's always hard to back the low one with another low one, as we say at every level of the game. I'll report back, but it's just good to hit the approach shots nice. And greens in regulation, a.k.a. jeers. They're nice to mark on the scorecard, and I've been having success there lately, so I had to share it with the world.
Let's look ahead to this weekend where the PGA Tour stays in the beautiful kind of central Atlantic, right off the eastern seaboard area of whatever continent you're in here in North or South America. Basically. Paradise. They're going to the Mayakoba just outside of Cancun. They got some big names in the field now this week. JT, Victor Hovland, Tony Finau, Scotty Scheffler. Pretty good field now. Pretty good. Yeah, and honestly, this event had usually been a big time afterthought for any of those type of names to play, especially in the fall. But they're starting to get a lot better names there. And I think these guys are realizing the secret's out, Mike, because I went down there for a vacation earlier this year. I went to Akumal, which is about a half an hour south. And basically you just get on this one road south of the Cancun airport and you just go by all these resorts. And about halfway in between the airport and where I stayed was Mayakoba. I'm like, that's Mayakoba, the Mayakoba. It is absolute paradise. It is right on the water. It is clear blue water, soft white sand beaches, and golf everywhere you can look. So why not go? If you're a PGA Tour veteran in the fall and you want to make an extra check, head down there. So it's a really cool venue. One thing I will shout out on Mayakoba, and you can Google this or search this, but I don't know if you've ever seen a true, a cenote, a mini little cave before. These are very common in that part of the world. There's actually a cenote, C-E-N-O-T-E, for those at home, built into one of the golf holes at Mayakoba. You'll see it featured on this week's broadcast. You can't hit through it. If you hit into it, your ball just goes down into the infinite end of the earth. But it's a really cool architectural feature, very unique to this week's tournament. I think every course should have some sort of architectural feature that if you hit your ball into it, it's gone forever. Yeah,
it's just a permanent black hole on every golf course in the world. Yes. As if we don't have enough in our way trying to get the ball into the hole. We can add that now, right?
Why not?
Love it. Yeah, so check out picks, Wednesday night picks on Twitter. I'm at Course Life 1 and you're at MWRINC.
Let's switch over to Tuned In, where we share what we're tuning into outside of the world of sports. Halloween was Sunday. It is now Monday evening.
Yes.
I got my kind of last minute, oh my God, I haven't watched any real Halloween movies this month. So we watched.
Shame on you.
I know. So over the weekend, we watched The Frighteners, starring Michael J. Fox. And then we watched on Sunday night, we watched Hocus Pocus.
And that's my wife's number one movie of all time is Hocus Pocus.
It's a
Absolutely
classic.
loved it.
Bette Midler is just, she has so much fun in that movie. It's just hilarious. It's fantastic.
I only saw it like 2.5 times this Halloween season, which is a tremendously low number. If you live in the house, I do. Okay. Definitely a classic.
Is it just does the wife just put it on repeat in the background?
Oh, yeah, because we can just throw it on demand, or it's just airing on cable every 72 hours for this entire season. So, yeah, it's a common watch here. One other watch as well. I saw the new Halloween Kills movie. Oh, my God, Mike, I have not seen so much gore in a movie in a long time. Don't eat before that movie or way after it. That was an interesting watch indeed. My Tuned In this week is revolving the holiday debate that we love getting in every single form we can. So we're going to do it one more time for our fans right here, because something very interesting happened. Mariah Carey, as you know, All I Want for Christmas. This is absolutely her time of the year. She allegedly makes millions of dollars every Christmas season off of that song, which is still popular to this day, 25 years later. You'll find this interesting, Mike. She put out a very interesting little video on social media where she was basically letting all of her fans know that it is not yet time to be singing her Christmas anthem. She did it in a very cavalier way in which she smashed 3 pumpkins with the words, "It's not time." And then I just sent you via our private little chat the message she followed with. She hits the pumpkin saying, "It's not time to sing my song." And then she follows by saying, "It's time to smash that pumpkin and treat it as pie, because we still got to get through Thanksgiving." So the moral of the story, Mike, is I'm left confused as to, is it Christmas season? Is it not? Are we allowed to play the Mariah Carey song? And I really need to know your opinion, because I know it's so valued on topics like this.
I don't want to hear a single fucking Christmas song until after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. All right. So you were very much Team Mariah there. Despite the mixed messages, she said you have to treat the pumpkin like pie, and you cannot play my song until after Thanksgiving. So Black Friday, 12:01 a.m., it starts blaring. But until then, everyone, stay away from Mariah Carey. Do not feed in to her little promotion. Don't give her an extra $1. She certainly doesn't need it. We're not playing that song for 3.5 weeks. Official message, I guess.
That said, I'm really looking forward to hearing that song again this year.
Yes, that's right. We're sitting at 3 weeks. So Thanksgiving,
all I want for Christmas, Alex.
I'll put it on replay for you all week.
There you go. I appreciate it. All right. Let's get into this week's guest. It's another first coming your way here on The Course of Life. It's our first artist. And not just that, she's a golf artist, possibly one of the greatest in the game.
Yeah, that's right. I will throw that out there, because if you take a look at this week's guest and her catalog and who she's worked for, and you hear this conversation and the type of invites she's got to paint the wonderful work that she has done, you're going to have yourself believing the same thing too. This conversation, Linda Hartough, a little jump step to the side for us, talking a lot of art and how golf and art play together, but it's a very neat conversation coming your way.
And we'll have it in just a moment. But first, as always, this interview is brought to you by Desert Fox Golf, our friends of the show and the makers of the Phone Caddy. The Phone Caddy lets you strap your phone right onto the side of your golf cart, so it's easy to view and use all day long. No more fumbling around the dark spaces of your golf cart, dropping your phone on the seat, or even worse, onto the grass as you drive away. The Phone Caddy keeps your phone locked in safely, so you can stay locked into your round. It'll be the talk of your foursome, and it's a great gift for any golfer in your life. Alex, it's November. We just said we're going to start hearing Mariah Carey soon. Probably not for a while, but still it's soon. And that means it's time to go out and buy your Christmas gifts. And guess what? Desert Fox just shared on their social this past week. Their warehouse is full. They are ready to go. They're ready to get you your Phone Caddy, and it's going to be there in time.
How exciting is just a warehouse full of product, just ready to roll.
It's fantastic.
That's when you know the holidays are here. Love seeing that.
It really is. And, with us, you can save 10% off that Phone Caddy, off any number of phone caddies you want to get. And all you need to do is use the promo code Course of Life at their website, desertfoxgolf.com. That's right, just promo code Course of Life. It saves you 10% off any number of colors of their Phone Caddy, plus their patriotic line. So head on over to their website, desertfoxgolf.com. Get your phone caddy for all your friends for Christmas and use the promo code Course of Life to save 10%. Again, that's promo code Course of Life at desertfoxgolf.com.
Next up on the tee from the Low Country, Hilton Head, South Carolina specifically, we have a world-renowned artist in the golf community. Her paintings rest in some of the most hallowed grounds in golf, from Augusta to Pebble, St. Andrews and back. She's been everywhere. Plus, she has created the Academy of Golf Art as well, too. It's Linda Hartough joining the Course of Life. Linda, how are you tonight?
I'm very fine. Thank you very much.
Awesome. It's great to have you on the show. I'll start with kind of an interesting question. A lot of our golf guests usually maybe have a club in their hands by the time they can even walk. But in your case, I'm thinking that maybe you had the paintbrush in your hand before the golf. So I'm curious, which one came first back in the day for you?
Paintbrush for sure.
So how young were you when you first started painting? And then when was it when you first picked up a golf club? What was the year difference there?
Well, I have to say the paintbrush came way before almost all my memories. So it wasn't until I was about 6 years old then I realized that not everybody did that. And I defined myself as an artist from that time on. So that helped guide my whole life. I don't think I picked up a golf club till we played miniature golf somewhere when I was a child.
Nice. Yeah, that tends to be where everyone starts, is maybe mini golf or their local driving range or pitch and putt. That's cool. So you've had art in your entire life for sure. You did it growing up as a kid. You mentioned before we hopped on here that you went to art school and everything, right? Like that. I'm curious at what point, I usually ask the golfer this, but I'm asking you as an artist, at what point you knew you wanted art in your life? At what point did you realize that you wanted it to be what you did for a living in your adult life?
Age 6.
Love that. It must have been a stern conversation with the parents at the dinner table, right?
It was like, it's just how I defined myself from then on. And every choice I ever made from then on was, revolved around that.
Very cool.
It was my thing in life. And I knew it, which I'm very grateful for. I had a gift awesome. And I stuck with it my whole life and still have. It's something you don't not do.
Yeah, no, and it's tricky when you have a passion like that and you kind of come into your formative adult years, figuring out how that's going to work for you professionally. I know after you went to art school, you began selling paintings of your own. You then moved from Chicago, where you went to school, and moved to South Carolina, where you spent the better part of your life now. I'm curious, what was that like, selling paintings early on your own, and then talk to me about the decision to move to South Carolina specifically.
Well, selling paintings on my own was like a choice. That was the only way I knew how to make money. I didn't want to teach. I never wanted to teach. Still don't. So I had to find a way, and I did it when I was in Chicago to earn money. I did illustration for different newspapers and magazines. And then I actually would copy paintings in the Art Institute for people. And then I learned later, after I got out of art school, I went into the art fair business. There were some very good art fairs in the Chicago area. And I made a pretty good living from that. So I just learned how to sell direct. I really didn't. I did some work with galleries in Chicago, but mostly I sold direct, and I did a lot of commission work for people, specific places, but mostly I was doing landscape and kind of Americana theme landscapes with, barns and old houses and, just interesting things. To me.
So you weren't too far off from the the golf course landscape based on that original work. I'm curious when did that stumble into your life? When was the first golf course landscape opportunity presented to you? The very first one?
Yes, it did stumble. I was in South Carolina and I was exhibiting on a red piano gallery on Hilton Head. And someone from Augusta National saw my landscapes, and the pros at Augusta National, Bob Spencer and Dave Kletke, they contacted me and asked me if I could paint a golf course. And I said, sure. So I went there and I painted the 13th hole, and that was in 1984.
And that was quite literally the first golf course landscape gig you'd been given. Is that correct? It was at Augusta National on the 13th hole.
Yep.
Which for our golfing audience knows is basically one of the most hollowed grounds in the entire game. So you really shot for the moon there on your first commission.
I was lucky. Yes, you bet you. I know my father, who was an avid golfer at the time, just about fell out of his chair when I told him. You know, he was like, "You're what?"
Yeah, Linda, no, I'm not going to lie. I would have had your first golf course landscape as maybe the local country club or a 9-hole course down the street, but I wouldn't have picked Augusta. So that was quite the roaring start to the golf landscape career. And then so from there, I know there's a whole lot more on your website as well, too, for people who are browsing. It's hartough.com, HARTOUGH, and you can see all the paintings. But talk to me about everything that came from that day in 1984 and the work you've done with Augusta National specifically.
Well, of course, it was the first time my work had been printed, and that's basically why they wanted the paintings. Not only did they just want them, but they wanted to print them and sell prints at the Masters.
Okay.
We did, and the response was just overwhelming. And then I started getting calls from other clubs, like Lake Nona and the Country Club in Brookline. And I thought, there must be something to this. And then I went to the PGA show in 1988 for the first time. And then I really realized the market was just void. There wasn't anything there.
Interesting.
And I had a huge demand for what little I had at the time. So I thought, this was a thing I could do. I could bring fine art to golf. And
Very
up
neat.
to then, it really hadn't been done.
And so Augusta National obviously found you first, but all the other courses came following soon after. One unique thing that's definitely a pinpoint in your career in terms of golf art specifically is having both the USGA and the R&A commission you for paintings for the US Open, the Open Championship. I'm curious, that process of a tournament that's doing annual artwork like that, of finding you and trying to showcase the tournament in an image form or painting. How does that go about? How long does that process take, them finding you and you putting the work together for the tournament?
Wow. Well, I started both those series in 1990. So I had to go visit the course, obviously, get my reference work, do the painting, have it printed, and then work out distribution of the prints. So that was a long process, needless to say, because there was not any precedent for the distribution of those prints.
Right.
Those avenues of distribution had to be developed from scratch. And fortunately, the USGA started their first merchandise catalog that same year, 1990. So the prints were in their catalog, and that really helped, start that distribution process. But a lot of it was just plain word of mouth or being at the actual event and selling direct once again. Yeah. And at this time, I was still working with Augusta too. So I was working at the Masters, and soon I was working at well, we did a couple of times. We worked at the Open Championship, and I started working at the merchandise tent at the U.S. Open in 1996, because I really hadn't developed that much yet either. As far as what they have now, it's like this enormous merchandise thing.
Yeah,
but back then, it was just a little tent.
Oh yeah, the golf course and golf tournament merchandise has taken off tremendously. Not only with the USGA, but Augusta too. We talk every year about how legendary the Augusta National merch is, and to see those paintings there, that's quite a treat as well too.
When I started at Augusta, the only place you bought merchandise was in the actual pro shop.
Yes,
or there was a little hut outside that they sold a few things in, but that was it.
Yeah, the pun intended, the landscape has definitely changed a lot in terms of what's available at tournaments for fans. That's very neat. Let's talk about some of the courses you've done specifically. We talked about Augusta. I always love to recount certain spots or moments on the course there. You've done the 13th hole, but you've done a bevy of other holes on the course. I'm curious, what is maybe your favorite hole to paint or favorite spot on the course specifically that you find the most beautiful or serene?
Well, I think Amen Corner, of course. The 11th hole, the 12th hole, and the 13th. I've done more paintings of those holes. I've done about 25 paintings altogether at Augusta. And that's just paintings. Now I've done lots of watercolors and other things, but mostly of those holes. I've painted the 13th hole about 6 times. And 11 and 12 numerous times. So, but, they're different at different times, different years. The bloom is different. The light's different angle. So it's always, there's always a painting to find. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we saw that last year when we had 2 different Masters at 2 different points of the year. We saw an April Augusta versus November Augusta, and the subtleties are definitely there, and then they shine through. One other course I want to talk about more locally to you, which is a favorite on the podcast as well too. We love the Rbc Heritage because Harbor Town is just one of the most elusively beautiful courses. I just think it really sneaks up on people in terms of amazing venues, and that finishing 18th hole, the iconic red and white lighthouse in the background. Talk to me about just that view and painting in general and kind of what makes that backdrop just so unique and quintessential to the game of golf.
Well, it has a little bit of everything in it, It has marsh, it has the sound, it has boats, it has lighthouses. It's got everything. And then when I was doing reference work, of course, when I do it, I may know what hole I'm doing, but I've got to find the right light at the right time of year with the right everything. So that takes quite a bit of time to get, and I think the painting that I did do of it is pretty darn iconic. I mean, the sky was fantastic. It was late afternoon. There was a sailboat sitting out there. I mean, it was just perfection. And they use that image a lot. Basically it's on the scorecard. It's really an iconic image now, which it makes me very happy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Again, it's Linda Hartough, world-class artist right now. Academy of Golf Art is what we'll get into in a moment to get this golf art out to the masses and whatnot. Some people want to know, you talked about how much prep and planning goes into these artworks. It's amazing how specific it is. Now, I want to know specifically when you're actually doing the paintings on the golf course, what are the toughest features or the ones that take the most time for you to complete and create in your works?
Well, I mean, the whole painting is, I don't think there's one part that's tougher than another. It may take more times, especially like if I'm painting St. Andrews and I have to paint the whole town.
Yes. In addition to the course, yes.
That tends to take a little bit longer time, and it's a little more tedious than painting trees because everything has to be just perfect. But as far as preparation, I treat just about every painting with the same prep. That's being there, finding the right light and the right season. It's just all part of it. I spend quite a bit of time. If I'm going to a course I've never been to, I like to see the whole course. I like to listen to the pros and what they have to say about it and everybody. And then it's kind of a group decision. And I guess in a way, I'd sort of digest the whole experience and then come up with an image, I think, that really characterizes the course and what is most memorable about it. And then, of course, once I narrow down the whole and the view, then I have to find the right light and maybe the right season. So, yeah, it can be pretty expensive.
Definitely, yeah. So there's a lot going on there, especially with the light I wanted to touch on, because I noticed that some of your work, yes, it's done on the brightest, most beautiful sunny day, but I also see some really cool depictions of kind of darker, more overcast settings on some overseas course and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about the decision to paint when it's an overcast day versus a sunny day and how much the light takes part in what you do.
Well, even when it's overcast, there's usually some sort of sun light in that painting. The one that comes to mind is Royal St. George because it rained every day when I was there.
Not surprised.
And the last possible day we had, I was talking about my husband and I were there, and we would go out to the place where I'd picked where I wanted my view, and it would be just awful. And so the last day it was raining, and I said, well, we're just going to go and stand there and see what happens. And we both had our barber coats on, and I had my cameras underneath my barber coat, standing on this dune. And sure enough, this little patch of sunshine came through there. And I tracked it with my camera, and then I put that all together in the final painting. It was just one of the most memorable paintings I ever did, I think.
Interesting. But much like the game of golf, it's that elusive hunt for that one moment of greatness, that keeps you coming back. I like that you waited out and found that glimmer of sun when you needed it.
I remember, too, when we were standing out there for so long in the rain, the ranger came out. And, of course, he knew us from, being there for days. But he saw those figures out there in the rain on that dune, and he had to come out and see what in the heck was going on out there. So he drove his little buggy out there, and I just sort of raised my coat and waved, and he said, okay.
Yep, just photog, the artist doing what she does, just taking the best picture, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we caught the plane just in time. And I got my pictures and everything was fine.
So cool. I love that story. Awesome. Linda, I want you to touch on the Academy of Golf Art specifically, because I have been absolutely fascinated with not only your work, but golf art and how it's being showcased to the world now. We're seeing it a lot more ubiquitously, which is exciting. But what is the Academy of Golf Art doing to get golf art out to more people and increase the awareness within fans of the game?
Well, that's exactly why we formed it back in, I guess it was about 2003. There were a group of artists that had been some photographers that had been doing really fine art photography of the golf courses. And we just decided one way to wake up the art world that there was a genre of golf art out there, which they'd been kind of ignoring us. Was to form the Academy and attract good artists and have a way of presenting the work as a whole and doing exhibitions. And we've had quite a lot of shows at different art museums especially the Morris Art Museum in Augusta, Georgia. So we've had a good relationship with them and had shows during the Masters. And so it's just a way to bring that fine art to the golf public, you know.
Very cool. I love that initiative, and I look forward to seeing the society out at more events and whatnot, increasing the awareness, because what you're doing is absolutely beautiful. And these paintings belong in way more venues than just the clubhouses themselves. So I look forward to seeing them in more places around the world of golf. Again, it's Linda Hartough, world-renowned artist, joining us here. It's the Academy of Golf Art. She's a member of the Low Country Golf Hall of Fame. That's very cool. What was it like being inducted into a Hall of Fame? I feel like for anyone at any level, just to say you're a Hall of Famer, it's got to be quite the achievement, right?
It was incredible, really, because, you know, I'm not really in the golf world like most people would think, but yet I've been there for 37 years in a lot of other ways. So it was wonderful that they included me.
It's so cool.
Very neat. So thrilled. Yeah.
A couple of quick shots before we wrap up here. I want to ask you, outside of golf, let's say there was maybe another sport or a new sport that approached you as an opportunity to paint their landscape. What would you like that sport to be? Is there another sport that you're a fan of that you would enjoy painting maybe in the near future as well?
Well, the only other sport I can think of in relation to the landscape is equine art, which I actually did quite a bit of that before
Very cool.
I got into golf. I did a steeplechase, and I was doing horse portraits, which were in landscape. But I don't think of a lot of sports where I'd want to paint the landscape.
Yeah, I like the equine idea. That was not even on my radar. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm going to check out some equine art. And then as far as golf courses too, though, what you are painting, the bread and butter, what we know you most for, what's maybe the most paintable golf course that's maybe a little bit under the radar, not your Augusta or your Pebble Beach or your major championship venue, a paintable golf course maybe no one's heard of that you ventured out to?
Wow, that no one's heard of?
Well, it doesn't have to be nobody, but just is maybe flying under the radar a little bit.
When I'm in Scotland and Ireland, I see many, many little municipal courses and courses everywhere. Of course, there's so many over there. And they're all, to me, stunning. I just love the landscape over there.
Yeah, I think every year I learn about like 2 or 3 new link style courses over there. And I've never heard of this course by name in my entire life, but I'm looking at pictures and I'm like, there's no way this is also over there too. What a mecca.
Ireland too. I mean, they're just all over and they're just stunning.
Stunning indeed. Very cool. Wow. Linda, let's wrap up our conversation with our 19th hole question, which we love to ask all of our guests. I'm sure since you've been to all these wonderful venues in the game of golf, you've seen some amazing clubhouses. It's a 2-part question. The first part being, what's maybe the nicest clubhouse restaurant setting you've seen at any of these world-class golf venues?
Oh, boy. Well, I think of great clubhouses, but a lot of them I wasn't allowed into. But, you know, now that's changed. But back when I started, you know, that wasn't the case. But I don't know. I like my clubhouse. Spring Island here has a wonderful clubhouse and great dinners, and you can't ask for any better than what's right here where I live.
Okay. Shout out to Spring Island. And the part 2 of that question is what is your go-to, your meal and your drink of choice when you get in there after a day on the course, whether it's playing, walking, or photography to get ready for a work? What's your favorite 19th hole meal?
Oh, oysters to start with filet mignon and maybe some Patron Silver.
Yes, that not only is that a great 19th hole meal, that sounds like a death row meal. I love that. That is going out with style. Very classy indeed. Linda, thank you so much for hopping on the Course of Life. Again, it's the Academy of Golf Art, and check out hartough.com. It's HARTOUGH.com for all of her work. Linda, appreciate it so much.
Sign up for the email. We do have these guess the winner or pick the winner contest, so you can win a free print. So,
oh, yes. We love picking winners here on the podcast. So we will definitely join that as well, too, for some shot at free works from you. Thank you again, Linda, for joining the Course of Life, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks so much.
And we're back. Great chat there with Linda. It's incredible the amount of work that really goes into creating these stunning landscape pieces that she does. And she gets to walk on hollowed golf ground every day, pretty much.
Seriously, how about
crazy.
the hookup at Augusta? I mean, not only has she painted every hole in that course, check out Hartough.com, Hartough.com for all of her work. Buy her work. If you're in the mood, you can buy a Linda original for yourself as well, too. She's painted some of the most amazing spots in the world of golf. And like she highlighted, she's been everywhere that the game has taken her. Really cool conversation there, and looking forward to seeing what she paints next.
It's going to be pretty awesome. And if you like that conversation plus everything else we do here on this podcast, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave us a rating on the podcast app that you're using. It really helps us know that we're doing a good job, gets other people to hear us as well, because they see that we're doing great.
Yeah, and we've got slightly fragile egos, so it always helps to give us a little boost of morale to keep this thing going.
No, I'm not egotistical. I know I'm amazing.
Yes, that's right. Of course.
Let's talk a little football. Alex, how's it feel to know that you're really struggling right now to maybe have a winning season in your college bets?
I know, yeah. I had a great start in the first few weeks, so I'm still holding on to that. But yeah, it's down to about 53.5% against the spread. I told you my goal every year is 55% to really be making people money out there. But a third straight week, 6-6 with the picks on Twitter. Again, I'm at Course of Life 1, tweeting out college football plays all week, but especially on Saturdays. Kind of stuck in neutral, but the one thing I am enjoying, Mike, which I know you can appreciate about this college football season, yes, a lot of the familiar players are there, but there's a lot of fresh blood that we could possibly see in the playoff. A Michigan State or a Cincinnati or an Oklahoma State, Mike. These are all teams that have a chance to get in and maybe knock those annual contenders out. So I like that we're at least getting a little potential fresh blood. We'll see how the next month or two plays out, though.
Here's what I'm going to say is that while I appreciate the opportunity for these teams that aren't typically in the national championship games to have a chance, I am also a cynic, and I recognize that that's not going to happen. We're going to have the usual four, and the world will churn on as it always does. Yeah,
and I mean, that usual four would be Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Ohio State. You know, all those four in the playoff. I'll say, shout out to Brooks Austin, those Georgia Bulldogs. They are absolutely – they're not just beating – opponents, they are crushing and removing the souls from their opponents. I do not want to play the Bulldogs right now. They're far and away number one in the college scene right now.
Let's talk a little NFL as well. How's it feel, Alex, to know that you guys finally won another game and you're 4-4?
This is nice. I've finally got a little something, a little path, a little opportunity, a little light at the end of the tunnel now. Patriots 4-4. Are they back? No, not at all. Are they resembling a team that could be back in the playoffs like they have been the last 2 decades? Yes, they are. It's gonna take a lot more though here in the next couple months. But yeah, fun to win in LA. Pretty good crowd there for Patriots fans taking the road trip across the country, having themselves a great time in Los Angeles. So yeah, good to see them get a win. We're talking right now while your Giants are playing. Yeah. I know they're already down 7-0 as you and I are live podcasting. I'm going to go ahead and say they dropped this one too. That's a shocking prediction.
Let's go ahead. Let's do two possible scenarios here. First, I want you to talk to me like the Giants have lost the game. Okay.
Yep. Just another week in your life, and you would probably be changing the topic to a different sport right about now. So I wouldn't even get to say that much if they lost again.
Let's talk about the Champions League over there in Europe. You know,
I know you're a big soccer guy.
Out there right now. Oh yeah, I'm a huge soccer guy. You know, football. Go Ted Lasso. You know, yeah. Yeah. And then
the opposite scenario is if you could demoralize the Chiefs and they could be 3-5 as everyone's hearing this right now, and you could have back-to-back wins, and there could actually be like a slight bit of hope in New York for Giants fans. So that's the weird flip side.
The Giants have maybe just beaten, a perennial powerhouse in the Kansas City Chiefs here. And, we're going all the way to Super Bowl now. So, look out.
Food for thought.
There's your two scenarios.
Food for thought, indeed. We hashtag always in with food now. It's brought to you by Toasty Bites, makers of the Toasty Super Bites. Love them. Great, healthy, on-the-go snack. I take them to the golf course. You can take them in your gym bag or wherever you go. Promo code COL20 at toasty.com/COL. Halloween recap. Doorbell count, Mike. How many rings? What sort of activity did you get? I only had about 5 rings, maybe 10, 12 kids total. It's pretty quiet Halloween night over here. How about you?
Well, I don't know. I was working, so I don't really know. And then when I got home from work, the wife was on a Zoom call and needed to be quiet. So we just put the bucket of candy out the front door and just, let kids take from it. That said, it looks like we went through a good amount. But there still were a heck of a lot of Tootsie Rolls left over.
Oh, interesting. We did leave those
not
off.
Too surprising.
That's well said. We left those off of our candy draft, which we did on Always In With Food, our food podcast.
Purposely.
Check out the Instagram, Always In With Food Pod, and be sure to vote and let us know who drafted better in terms of their favorite 5 Halloween candies. And a great tip for the Halloween candy leftovers as well, too, which we touched on in last week's episode with Brandy Malloy. So be sure to check out Always In With Food Pod as well, too. But yeah, pretty vanilla Halloween for me. What were you up to in the last week?
Well, I sometimes like to take care of my coworkers in my retail establishment. So for Halloween, I made, for the first time ever, because I've never made them before, I made Rice Krispie treats.
Oh, and I saw these were delightfully colorful as well, too. They shine through.
Yeah, they got dipped in some vanilla flavored candy melts, so really kind of white chocolatey things, and then sprinkled with some kind of Halloween sprinkles and things, and they were very good. And again, I never made Rice Krispie treats. My mother never made me Rice Krispie treats as a kid either, because as she told me when I told her I was doing this, quote, it's because I don't like them.
Wow, man, that's a tough take
my mother's excuse. Not that I didn't like them, that she didn't like them. So
just won't even give you the satisfaction of making something that she just won't consume herself. So there it is. That Rice Krispie treat bite, one of those dessert bites where you take a bite into one of those and you instantly just get like teleported back to being 9 years old again. It's a great throwback flavor.
Doesn't teleport me anyway.
Every other kid but you. Sorry, correction. Yes.
True. I lived a sheltered childhood.
Indeed. We'll get more into that in future episodes as well. Thank you for tuning everyone into this week's Course of Life, and we'll see you all next week.